Hey there, I'm Alan Matthews from Classical Guitar Shed, and let's talk musical navigation symbols. These are the little road signs in a piece of music to tell you where to go and how things are organized. If you enjoy this, please subscribe to this channel and click the little bell for the notifications. And if you would like a sheet outlining all of these symbols that we talk about today, you can find that at the link below. Wonderful. Musical navigation symbols. First off, we're going to start with 4 bar lines, and then we will jump into some other symbols as well. So to begin with, let's look at some bar lines. These are how we organize music within the music. So the first off is the regular bar line, a single line up and down across the bar. And this separates the music into little blocks of a number of beats. And so we don't want to hear those bar lines. They don't really mean anything. It's just a way to keep things organized. It's a placeholder within the music. The next bar line we'll talk about are the repeat signs. And so this is the heavy double line with the 2 dots. And whenever we see these, then we play the stuff within there. There's some notes within there, oftentimes many different bars of music in there. We play that, and once we hit that second one, we go back over to the first one and we play it again, and then we continue on after that. So that means just repeat once. Oftentimes in a piece, if we go back all the way to the end and then come back, we don't take these repeats the second time. Like if we are playing the first page and then we go to the second page, come back and play the first page again, that time we might not play the repeat signs. But typically these signs mean repeat the stuff that's in there. When we see a double line like this one, it's not heavy, it's just regular, it's like 2 bar lines close together. That means this is the start of a new section. So this is just the main section of the music. These are great to take note of right when you begin a piece because it can tell you these are the major parts of the music. That's great for your practice. You can practice those parts as individual sections. And lastly, we have the final bar line. This could be at the very end of the piece like this where the line ends, or if we do a thing where we go to the end of the music and then come back and play the first section. Again, this might be somewhere at the end of the first section or something like that. So whenever we see this line, there's no repeat signs on it or anything like that. It's just the heavy double bar. That means it's the end of the piece. Well, now we can start talking about some symbols. And these are common symbols that you'll see in a piece of music. These are navigation symbols. So the first is the coda. And a coda is the ending passage of the piece. You could think of it as an outro. Like a piece might have an intro, the little part before you really get to the meat of the main melody. Well, we can also have an outro, and it is the ending. And that is what the coda is. So the coda is the ending passage, and it has this crosshairs symbol with a circle with the crosshairs in it. Now, another symbol is the segno, the sign. And this is like an S with the line through a couple of dots. And whenever we see this, it means that we'll come back there later. So this is it's called segno, it's the sign. And so it's a place marker that later we'll say, go back there. So there's nothing that we do with this the first time that we see it. So it doesn't tell us anything, it just marks a spot. Same as the coda. The coda doesn't tell us to do anything, like the repeat signs tell us to repeat. The segno and the coda, they don't tell us to do anything. They mark a particular place in the music. So in a piece of music, we'll oftentimes, at the end of a section, we will have more than one ending for that section. And so the first time we go through, we will see this bracket with the 1, and this will be accompanied by the repeat sign right here, more than likely. And then we go back, repeat that section again, and the second time we jump over this first ending and go to the second ending. And the second ending has the little 2 in it. And then oftentimes this bracket at the end will not be closed. It'll be open because we continue on into the next section of music from there. So endings, first and second ending. Well, next we'll get into some abbreviations that we'll see in music. The one is DC, and DC means Decapo. It means go back to the beginning of the piece, all the way back to the very first note. So Decapo, go back to the beginning. And similar, we have DS, and DS is del segno. So go back to the sign that we talked about earlier, go back to that sign, find it, and then go back to that point, and then continue on from there. So this is like repeating, you're going back to a predetermined point and then playing through. So we'll see DS. Oftentimes we see this if we have an intro. So if there is an introduction to the piece, so if there's 4 bars and then it gets into the meat of the piece, then the segno starts after the intro. So instead of going Decapo, where you would repeat the intro, del Segno, we won't repeat the intro. We'll just go back to there. It doesn't have to be that way, but normally when you see that, that's what's going on. Is this we're returning to the beginning, except not the intro. The next one is DC Alfine, so Decapo Alfine, and fine it's like the end. It's Italian for the end. Fine, finish. And so it's not fine. It looks fine, but it's not fine. It's fine. And so once we do this, then we do Decapo, which you know is, we return to the very beginning of the piece, and then we play until we see the word fine, and that marks the end of a piece. And we'll oftentimes have some sort of bar line at that point too. One of either the ending bar line or a section bar line or something. Likewise, we'll also see DS al Coda. And so this means, do you know it? Del Segno, so that means go back to the sign. And then al Coda means, and then go to the coda. So that way to the coda sign. So that means once we see this, once we see DS al Coda, we're going to go and find the Segno, the S with the line and the two dots, and then play until we see the coda sign. And so once we see that circle with the crosshairs in it, then with the cross in it, that is how we go then. So we go to the sign, play until we see that coda, and then we'll hop over to the coda at that sign. We'll see the coda sign, and that coda sign will bounce us over to the coda. And lastly, Finae Fitting End is, like we said, it's the finish. It is the end of the piece. So whenever we see the Finae written on there, that is where we end the piece. And that is also where we'll end this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do subscribe to this channel. And if you would like a printout of all of these so you can have it as a handy reference, you can do so at the link below. Thanks so much for watching. Best of luck in your music reading and in your playing. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.